Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Diego. My name is Livia Walsh and I'll be serving as your worship associate this morning. It's also my great joy, yet and again, to be joined by our speaker, Chaplain Michael Eselun, whom I'll be introducing more fully later on. Welcome again, Michael. I think he's an honorary member of this fellowship. He's been here many times. If you're attending this service by Zoom this morning, please have your candles ready so we can all light our chalices together. If you wish to know more about this fellowship, we encourage all of you, including our, and maybe even especially our visitors, to go to our website at UUFSD.org, where you'll find a lot of information about this fellowship, ways in which you can contact us, finding out what's happening at this fellowship, which is still quite a bit, and ways to be involved or information that you might need if you're interested in membership. The order of service, which you have, and the weekly newsletter also contains more information, and those are both also on our website. And if you're visiting today, please join us as our guest for coffee and snacks after the service today up in the core area. And feel free to ask our greeters, our ushers, or me if you have any questions about this fellowship. And if you feel comfortable, if we do have visitors today, I'd like to invite you to stand and introduce yourselves and just say where you're from. So do we have some visitors who'd like to let us know who you are and that you're visiting? I'm trying not to look at anyone. There you go.
Hi.
Good morning.
Natalie Robichaux. This is Vivian and Gus.
I'm Richard.
We've been here several times, but we are not members yet.
Well, welcome.
I've been here
A while.
since COVID, so
Yes.
a long time.
Right.
So happy to be in person.
Great. Well, welcome back. Yeah, good to see you all. Thank you. So I'd like to, yes, Morgan.
I'm Morgan. This is my wife and daughter, Shea. We used to be members many years ago. Actually, we were married in this church by Reverend Kathy
Oh,
in
yes.
2005.
Yes.
So glad to be back.
Welcome back, Morgan and Matea and Amy. Nice to see you again. Yeah. Okay, so now I'd like to invite everyone to stand and greet one another in whatever way you feel safe and comfortable. Could be elbow bumping or just eye contact. Welcome, Lynn. Hey, Lynn. Lynn? Lynn? Could you just play a chord or two to bring them back? Just a trill? Okay, let's come back to our seats. I have one announcement today from Liz Young, who is the coordinator of our backpack project. Today is the last day that we'll be collecting items for that project. Please visit the social action table, which is up in the core area after the service. If you have questions for Liz or if you have donations, you can also go on our website to the Breeze account and donate financially if you'd like to. Thank you. The link to the project also can be found in the newsletter as well as the website. Now I invite us all to please stand or sit if you wish, and join us in singing our gathering hymn, number 168, One More Step. And if you are singing, we would like to ask you to wear your masks. Just leave it. One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us and everyone. We'll take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word. Every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word. One more prayer. We will say one more prayer, till every prayer is said by everyone. We will say one more prayer. One more song, we will sing one more song, till every song is sung by everyone. We will one more song.
Good morning. As a call to worship this morning, I'd like to share this by Richard Rohr. It's called, How Am I Ready to Surrender? I believe profoundly in the necessity of surrender, but I don't think we can chart its course ahead of time. Our own private salvation projects seldom do the job. Surrender is something that is done to us more than something we do ourselves. In Joseph Campbell's book on the hero's journey, he says that the only way to be a hero is to prepare and be ready for when the moment comes. You might say that is the point of all spirituality. Someone else must determine the timing, the circumstances, the shape of the ordeal. None of us can engineer our own transformation, or it would not be transformation at all, but merely cosmetic surgery to make us think well of ourselves. You can't choose ahead of time which dragon you will slay or how you will slay it. It will probably slay you. So just make sure you are well practiced in dying.
We acknowledge that we are on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Kumeyaay people. We appreciate their ongoing stewardship of these lands for more than 12,000 years, beginning long before the first European settlers arrived. By lighting this candle, we offer our respect to these indigenous people and their elders, past and present. I'd like to invite Michael to light the chalice this morning.
Worked 5 minutes ago. There we go.
As we come together in community here in person or via Zoom, we are very aware of all of which we have had to let go, not the least of which, at the most basic level, coming into physical presence with one another for this past almost year and a half. As we light our candles and this chalice, which represents our entire community, we are mindful of this sacred time of coming together on our shared journey of discovery of that which remains essential, after we have had to let go of so much. Please stand or remain seated as we join in singing our centering hymn, followed by the recitation of our covenant. And once again, if you're singing, please wear your masks. Ven hacia mí y el corazón cántale tu compasión, sopla volar, sube al mar hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Arrégame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. May love be the spirit of this congregation. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our covenant. I'd like to invite the children down to the chancel here at the step. I'll meet you at the step for our story this morning, so please come on down. And that includes some of you older kids. I would really appreciate it if you'd come join us. Thanks. I want to see the kids. The story this morning is called Golden Threads by Suzanne Del Rizzo. And it's about a little girl named Emmy and her very special stuffed animal, Mr. Fox, and a very big storm that hurt Mr. Fox and blew him far away from home and the very kind people who helped him. One day in early autumn, Emmy and Mr. Fox were sitting under the ginkgo tree. Emmy said, "Oh, look, the first golden leaf." And she took it from the tree and tucked it in Mr. Fox's pocket. See, this looks like butterflies, doesn't it? Yeah. All of a sudden, dark clouds began to roll across the sky, and the tree, the ginkgo tree, began to shimmer and shake and sway in the wind. And soon the wind got stronger and stronger, and it began to rain. The wind became so strong that it broke off one of the big branches. And the and it began to blow Mr. Fox around. He swirled and churned and lurched in the wind, and finally the wind stopped, and he went kerplunk to the ground. Mr. Fox was all tattered and torn, and his stuffing was puffing out all over. He was feeling afraid and sad because he didn't know where he was. He also felt really broken. See how tattered he is? Poor guy. Yeah. As night came, Mr. Fox could see his home across the lake that was lit by the moon, and it looked like the ginkgo leaves formed a path across the lake to where Mr. Fox and Emmy lived. How he wished he could be home with Emmy. Suddenly, a very kind man who was walking found Mr. Fox, and he gently picked him up and carried him to his house where his granddaughter Kiko lived. Kiko was in a wheelchair because she couldn't see very well, and she fell one day and she broke her leg. Kiko, grandfather said, "A friend has come to visit you." He put Mr. Fox in Kiko's lap and guided her hand to touch his head. "You are a very long way from your pine forest," she said, sniffing his wet fur. Kiko then washed away the mud and picked out the seeds. Whoopsie, sorry. And picked out the seeds nestled deep in Mr. Fox's fur. Kiko touched Fox's tattered paws and battered fur, and she discovered the golden leaf in his pocket. "You must be really missed," she said. Mr. Fox wondered if Emmy would even want him anymore, as he was so broken and tattered. I missed that one. "You're going to be okay," said Kiko. As she began to fix his fur with threads, she took a needle and golden threads and sewed up all the broken seams and pushed back all the stuffing. As the fall turned into winter and then winter turned into spring, both Kiko and Mr. Fox were healing. Kiko was able to stand and walk with crutches now, and Mr. Fox's torn body was just fine, and he could feel the strength of the golden threads. Kiko and Mr. Fox were very happy. Autumn arrived again a year later, and Kiko saw a golden ginkgo leaf by the lake. She realized she had to say goodbye to Mr. Fox, as it was time for him to go home to his friend Emmy, who missed him so very much. She and Grandfather and Mr. Fox rode across the lake, following the path of the ginkgo leaves created on the lake. Emmy saw them coming, and she yelled with joy and surprise, "You came home!" "It was the ginkgo leaves that guided us here," said Kiko, and they all hugged. As they all sipped tea together under the ginkgo tree, Mr. Fox was filled with gratitude and felt so loved and stronger than ever before. So sometimes, that's the end of the story. This was not easy. So sometimes we all get hurt and maybe even feel a little broken. But the stories we share with others about our experience to get support from them and help us to know how strong we really are and that we can really heal. And it reminds us that love and gratitude are so very important to help us to grow and be the best people we can be. Okay? So let's sing the kids out, and the children will be going to the playground this morning. Okay? May we generously give to support and sustain this place, which is so very dear to everyone. We will now gratefully accept our morning offering.
Some people remember the first time. Some can't forget the last. Some just select what they want to from the past. It's a song that you danced to in high school. It's a moon you tried to bring down on a 4 a.m. drive through the streets of town. Come on, come on, it's getting late now. Come on, come on, take my hand. Come on, you just have to whisper. Come on, I will understand. It's a photograph taken in Paris at the end of the honeymoon. In 1948, late in the month of June, your parents smile for the camera in sienna shades of light. Now you're older than they were then, that summer night. Come on, it's getting late now. Come on, take my hand. Come on, you just have to whisper. Come on, I will understand. It's a need you never get used to, so fierce and so confused. It's a loss you never get over the first time you lose. And tonight I am thinking of someone 17 years ago. We rode in his daddy's car It's getting late now. Come on, come on. Take my hand. Come on, come on. You just have to whisper. Come on, come on. I will understand. Come on. It's getting late now. Come on. Take my hand. Come on. You just have to whisper. Come on. I will understand.
Today we wish to acknowledge the sorrows or the suffering, as well as the joys and happiness experienced by this congregation. For those of you who are with us via Zoom, if you'd like to write in the chat as your expression of your joy or your sorrow, please do that. And for those of you who are here in person, I invite you to come up and place a stone in the water and silently speak your suffering, your sorrow, your joy, your happiness. For those who've written in our book, which we have available in the back on the table, I'm going to silently speak their joys or suffering. And for all the joys or sorrows not spoken or not shared in this way today, I also offer a stone. And we hold you in our hearts with compassion, and we smile with you in celebration.
As we move into this time of silent reflection and contemplation, I invite you, if you feel so comfortable, to close your eyes. Get comfortable in your seats. And let's just breathe a few nice, deep breaths together. We quiet our minds. We let go of the concerns of the day, the week behind us, and the week ahead of us. And we simply follow the empty breath. Richard Rohr asserts his belief in the necessity of surrender, of letting go. As we move gently into our communal silence, we also move into a space of surrender to that which is beyond our control, and we open ourselves to a peace that just may be waiting for us there.
Our reading this morning is titled In Blackwater Woods by Mary Oliver. Look, the trees are turning their bodies into pillars of light. They're giving off their fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating over the blue shoulders of the ponds. And every pond, no matter what its name, is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this. The fires in the black river of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, we must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against our bones as if our life depended on it, and when the time comes, to let go, to let go. It is my pleasure once again to formally introduce you to Chaplain Michael Eselun, who serves as the chaplain for the Simsman UCLA Center for Integrative Oncology. He is a two-time TEDx speaker, and Michael speaks extensively to healthcare professionals, patient populations, and faith communities across the country. He's also worked as an activist educator addressing anti-LGBTQ bias in the larger community for over 30 years. Michael was recently inducted into the UCLA Semel Institute Eudaimonia Society in recognition of having lived a meaning-driven life. He has 4 volumes of CDs that are available for purchase up in the core area. And if you would like to contact Michael, you can do so at his website, michaeleselun.com. Welcome, Michael.
Good morning again. It's great to be here and to see faces in person and not on a Zoom screen. Yeah. The well-known Buddhist author and teacher, Pema Chodron, offers us this in her book, When Things Fall Apart. I used to have a sign pinned to my wall that read, "Only to the extent we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible be found in us." It was all about letting go of everything. I invite you to think about 4 or 5 things that make you who you are. That if anybody's going to know you at all, they're going to know these 4 or 5 things about you. That you're a talented artist, you're a gifted athlete, you're passionate about politics, your faith community, you're a devoted parent or grandparent. Perhaps you're noted for your beautiful physique and your great head of hair. That'd be me. Don't laugh. Imagine none of that is true anymore, or not in the same way. Who would you even be then? Is there an essential you who dwells beneath all those labels with which we would identify, under all those hats we might wear? What's more, is he or she worthy of love? Is he or she capable of giving love? As painful as those questions may be to entertain, they do reflect the most profound spiritual journey through loss, toward essence, if you will, that which is indestructible. It's a journey that so many cancer patients must take in a compressed, accelerated kind of fashion, watching piece by piece of one's identity slowly slip away. If I'm no longer the super mom who never misses a soccer game or a birthday party, who would I even be then? Would I even still be a mom? The thing is, life affords us each that guarantee. We will all lose everything. Everything that we are, everything that we love, everything that we have. How do we make peace with that? Is it even possible? I sometimes wonder if one measure of living a successful life lies within our capacity to come to peace with the inevitability of loss. What's more, might that peace even be a kind of gift, a blessing, giving us a glimpse every now and then of that which is indestructible? The Buddhists would caution us to be well practiced at letting go, that holding on, grasping, clinging are sure pathways to suffering. As an illustration, we only have to look at how so many of us have been coping with this unfolding pandemic. I just want my old life back. When can we get back to normal? I'm an avid swimmer. I swim every day. I remember March 16th, 2020, when my gym announced that because of the virus, they would be closing down for up to 2 weeks. 2 weeks? I can't live without the pool for 2 weeks. Oh, really? Just wait. I hear similar sentiments sometimes from newly diagnosed cancer patients. Can't we just go back to 6 weeks ago before this all started? There's a kind of paradox, actually, because I think that, yes, while holding on does cause suffering, I find that there's life force in it, in the reaching and the yearning and the striving. Chemo infusion clinics are filled with folks who have signed up for guaranteed suffering, for the possibility of more time, more life. Universities are filled with students striving for, investing in, creating a future. When we're young, the future is almost a member of the family, a character in our own biography. Look at how much attention and intention we invest in the future. It shapes almost every decision and choice we make. As we get older, possibility diminishes right along with the future, and the past becomes a far richer member of the family. Memories, stories that might soothe us and bring us peace, or stories that might just as well haunt us, but either way, stories that offer the possibility of meaning. In the saddest irony of all, some of us will even lose those in time. How do we make peace with that? Is there any meaning to be found in everything that we will lose? I'm not so arrogant as to think I have any answers at all. What I have are stories, both my own and those of countless patients I've walked beside, patients whom I would just as soon call my teachers. I also have a growing faith at this stage of my life that drawing closer toward any paradox, holding the space for two competing realities to be true, might just offer a pathway to peace, if not wisdom. April was a great gal, early 40s, vibrant, professional wife, mom, 2 great kids. She also had this exceedingly rare, exceedingly lethal cancer diagnosis that also happened to be horribly disfiguring. The doctors gave her that awful assessment, nothing more to be done. She greeted that news with this kind of clarity and profundity. Michael, I'm dying. I know that. It's the truth. But you know what? It's only one truth of many truths. Her openness to that statement, her willingness for it to shape the remainder of her days, was truly something to behold. And there are those who cling so valiantly to those one or two aspects of their identity that without them life simply wouldn't be worth living. That clinging actually keeps them going. There's the passionate university professor who by any reasonable measure should never have been in a classroom given how immunocompromised and weak she was. But even her oncologist saw the truth. I see this is who you are. You're a teacher. You've got to teach. So go teach. Just be careful, okay? I remember 20-some years ago meeting a young woman in the hospital in her 30s, not long before she died. At the time we met, she was busy keeping a journal, writing letters to her then 11-year-old daughter to be read into the distant future. Oh, that's so beautiful, I said. What a perfect gesture. No, it's not, she said. I'm just nagging her into the future. Still, just being a mom to the very end. Sometimes it might even be an object that we cling to with such defiance as some kind of remnant of an aspect of ourselves we just cannot surrender. Maybe an old wedding dress, maybe an old army uniform, maybe an old ID badge from a long-gone career. Over the last few years of my mom's life, she was acutely aware that things would be wrapping up soon, so she took to earnestly clearing out every drawer, cabinet, and closet, letting go so that we wouldn't have to. When death finally came, things had been pretty much sifted down to the bare essentials, except for boxes and boxes, acres and acres of family photos, cards, letters, a few tattered newspapers with historic headlines, JFK assassinated, that sort of thing. That last Saturday that we were clearing out what was left of her life, I made a final pass through her bedroom closet, high in the darkness in the top corner, back in the corner of the shelf. I saw this old hat box. How had we missed that? I pulled it out, dusted it off, opened up. I couldn't believe my eyes. I felt this searing stab of grief, of pain, and of amazement. It was the hat. This hat that had become legendary in my memory. Her Donna Reed hat, I called it. She looked just like her when she wore it. It was a little pillbox covered in champagne silk leaves, each one tipped with a tiny seed pearl. She bought the hat, I remember, to go with this light blue brocade suit that she would wear to her best friend Janet's second wedding at the Desert Inn in Las Vegas, maybe 1962 or so. My mom was quite the glamorous dresser in her day. Earlier that afternoon, in fact, I had come upon the photo of the wedding party in the original Desert Inn folder. There my mom and dad were. So young, so healthy, so handsome, so beautiful. And there was my mom with the hat. The only one at the table with the hat. And I also knew that under the table were the most stunning pair of gold lame pointed toe stiletto pumps. I'd always been fascinated with my mom's high heels. Obsessed, really, surreptitiously trying them on when she wasn't around. Even I knew better than to mess with those. But here it was, the hat. She'd kept it. We had reminisced often about those times, even about that outfit, but she never let on that she kept the hat. For decades and decades and decades, after letting go, saying goodbye to everything and everyone else, she kept the hat. Why? Did she need it as some kind of touchstone, as some kind of evidence, proof that that time had been real, that that part of her was true, because that hat is still there in the closet, unable to surrender that one souvenir? It leaves me to wonder, What object will I cling to for no sensible reason, as some kind of placeholder for some version of myself I will always want to claim as true? I don't know. How about you? David Foster Wallace says that everything I let go of has my claw marks on it. And there are those who adapt quite well to loss, finding a new identity or a new version of the old one. I had so many wonderful conversations with Randy over the last couple years of his life, mid-50s, advanced colon cancer. Not long before he died, I was walking him out of the clinic, and we're still chatting when we got out in the hallway. Up walks another patient, gingerly making her way to the entrance of the clinic. And Randy says, "Just a minute, Michael." And he goes and he holds the door for her with a big smile on his face. "There you go, sweetheart." He came back to me. He said, "You see, Michael, the way I see it, that is my job now, to be kind. That's what I do." Now, Randy's professional life was one that had been animated by intense financial pressures and struggles, commercial real estate. It had all been refined and distilled now, down to that as one who shows kindness. Cancer had robbed him of a lot, but it didn't take away that career opportunity. It didn't take away that place to still find some meaning. Kate, in her early 60s, was diagnosed with a recurrence of breast cancer, now stage 4. Kate was a spiritual seeker, an artist, a musician. She played cello in a local chamber orchestra. While raised an Episcopalian, she converted to Judaism much later in life, but not because of marriage or any such conventional reason, but because she said, "I love the humor in Judaism. And besides, there's no hell." She also loved the questioning nature inherent in Jewish study. Although any articulation about who or what is God, how does prayer work, what happens after we die, was simply left undefined because she experienced her spirituality in community, playing music in community, praying in community. She didn't pray when she was alone. She also shared with me that she'd been a survivor of childhood sexual assault, an experience that left deep wounds, to be sure, but not the least of which was a crippling fear of dying. And the essence of that fear was, what if I just disappear? There it is, ultimate loss, disappearance. I asked Kate if she'd ever had what any of us would call a peak spiritual experience. "Oh, yes," she said, "playing a big, lush piece of music like Handel's Messiah. I got to play that once in Cleveland, full orchestra, chorus, the works. It was transcendent to be in the center of the creation of all of that music." Kate, you just told me that your biggest fear was that you would disappear, and yet your peak spiritual experience was one in which you disappear, if you will, into the creation of that music. It couldn't possibly be about you and your cello. And yet without your cello, that music would not have been the same. What if dying is like that? What if the other side is like that, surrendering into a larger harmonic reality in which your little voice is an inextricable piece of the whole? She sighed into that. She exhaled into that. Sometimes we need to summon our imagination to come up with new images and metaphors when we find ourselves immobilized by the fear of loss. I love to hike, and for decades I have made a nearly annual pilgrimage to Yosemite because there's one hike there that has simply given me my life back more times than I can count. I don't have a simpler way to put it. Oftentimes a great distress. About 20 years ago, I had such a moment in my life, devastation really, spiritual crisis in fact, which I would define as a time of great loss. Everything I had believed and come to trust just collapsed right out from under me. At first I thought, maybe you ought to go up to Yosemite, do your hike, try to climb out of it, transcend it. But it just didn't feel right. And the more I thought, you know, you've always wanted to see the Grand Canyon, hike to the bottom. You're not getting any younger. What if Instead of trying to climb out of it, you climb into it, into the earth. See what might be there for you there. So that's what I did. For any of you who have made that descent, you know how staggering it is. And the wisdom that came to me was so clear, clean, concise. The Grand Canyon is only grand because of what's been lost, not because of one thing that's been added. One particle of soil at a time, letting go, losing itself, releasing itself to the water over the span of 5 million years. It's incomprehensible, swept away by something so simple as water. I spent that night at the Phantom Ranch at the bottom of the canyon. It's a charming, historic, albeit Spartan compound, dormitory-like cabins, communal dining room. That night, the lovely gentleman who served us dinner asked for our attention before we dug in, wanting to offer us a kind of blessing or invocation. My friends, I want to welcome you here, and I hope that while you're here, you take some time to be still and feel the power of this place, the majesty of it, the sacredness of it. It's like Mecca or Jerusalem for the native people. He went on to say, and no matter how hard it was for you to climb down today, climbing up tomorrow is going to be so much easier. And of course, there were incredulous groans from around the dining table. Yeah, right. And if not, he said, rejoice, rejoice, you got no choice. I love that. I come back to it again and again as a kind of mantra. Rejoice, rejoice, you got no choice. What if, like the Grand Canyon, we are being carved out for our grandeur, hollowed out by loss, so that on our way down, we do catch a glimpse of that which is indestructible every now and then? Sure, let's savor each vista, cherish each moment, hold on, you bet. But with an oh-so light touch and a willingness at any moment to let go. Except perhaps for that one thing. So be it.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you for all your beautiful work in the world to support all those people. Yeah. Let us stand, or if you choose to remain seated, and join in singing our closing hymn number 108, My Life Flows On Like an Endless Song. And please wear your masks if you're singing.
Tremble
please join in the recitation of extinguishing the chalice. The words are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I invite you to perhaps close your eyes and let's take a few nice deep breaths together. Breathing in the love, the intention, the commitment of this community to come together and to connect despite all that there is now to separate us. As we exhale, can we release the light and radiance of our coming together, not only back to one another, but to the larger circles of life? Let's even stretch our arms out right now where you're sitting and imagine our embrace of each other in those larger circles of life, getting a sense of our connectedness in a place beyond time and space, despite the physical isolation of this moment. As we breathe into that embrace, can we also embrace that part of us that really wished for something else, something other than what we've got? That part of us that does not want to let go. Can we extend tender compassion to that part of ourselves, even as life pulls much that we may love from our grasp? May we find peace in that delicate balance between holding on and letting go. So be it.